Well, hey there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. It's GoreMiser, and I'm here with none other than John Salter, BaRRaCCuDDa himself, coming in for a player spotlight. And we're going to get to know you. I mean, you've been playing Smite for an incredibly long time. I mean, like one of the few, like, we have a lot of players that are historied like that, right? And some are just now in the league, but you've been going for a while, and yet I have a feeling, because I've been a fan that long, that there's a lot of people who don't know that much about you. Like, my first question, I guess, because it was a fun interview way back when, do you still not play with your shoes on, or how does that work now? Because I remember that Worlds interview.
Every time I'm at a LAN, I'll always take my shoes off because I just feel like they're weighing me down. Like, as odd as that sounds, like, it's very distracting to have weight on your feet while you're playing because I get kind of animated sometimes when I play. So, like, I'm moving around in my chair and moving around, like, my legs a lot. And if there's extra weight, I just feel like my brain just, like, goes down to my feet a lot for some reason, which... Maybe I'm not that smart, you know. I'm just getting distracted by everything.
Well, hey, for anyone who is wondering where that question come from, it probably sounds like a really weird one to start with, but I think that was Worlds 1, like right after semifinals, you guys just beat Cog Red, and there was an interview where it was just like, FDOT's just like, where are your shoes? Like, where did they go? Why are you not wearing them? You ran from the stage up to a balcony. It was a fun time. But like I said, you've been playing for a while, but we want to go back even before that to you know, like your childhood and who you are, how you got to be where you are. And so, like, what kind of things did you do when you were growing up? Like, what was your hobby before you got into gaming?
Gaming. I've been gaming since I was about 3 years old, I would say. When we got the first computer, I was playing on, like, MS-DOS, I think was the name of it. Like, where you had to, like, put in commands to, like, enter a game and all that. God, that sounds so old now. Man. But my family was always into gaming. My dad was into computers, so it was really easy for me to translate all of that and just be very tech-savvy growing up. And sorry, I'm having to pet Luna right now so she doesn't meow like right in the mic. I wasn't really like into sports. I played baseball 2nd grade, and we lost every single game, and I did not play baseball again. And in high school, I ran like cross country, but every time my knees or my hips would give out, basically it would like become very painful for me to run, and so every time I had to quit, like that's like a month into each season, which was really annoying. But back to gaming, I played a game called Savage a lot. I played StarCraft, I played Halo, played a little bit of Diablo, not too much, and I played a lot of Warcraft 3, and so I kind of like played all of the competitive games, and I played a lot of Blizzard games as well. But my main one was Savage, which I ran a clan called P2R, and yeah, it was fun. But the internet was a different beast back in the day, where like language and all of that stuff was just completely different back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, there were wild times back then, especially on Halo, on COD, on all that stuff on Xbox.
It was a different era of gaming, to say the least. It was, I mean, it's a fun time. It's kind of interesting. A lot of, like, especially the European players that we end up talking to for these, I swear to God, everybody has played soccer at some point in their life, and I always felt left out because it's just like, I never played soccer. Like, I want to relate to you, but I never did that. I played, you know, your CODs, your Halos, your Diablos, so I can at least relate to that. And knowing that you grew up really focused in gaming. Where did you grow up, though? Like, you know, where were you growing up? What was going on, like, with your family? How was life as a kid?
I grew up in Cartersville, Georgia, which isn't really the biggest town. I mean, it's growing up. It's growing a bit now, or like more businesses are moving to it, but it was kind of small. We basically had a movie theater for entertainment, so And my family, we really didn't have like that much money. My dad was just a UPS driver, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So everything I had was hand-me-down. Like my computers, I'm pretty sure were hand-me-down. My clothes were hand-me-down. Like, so the only real entertainment that I could do was gaming, and I competed a lot with my brother and sister, and it was just a very competitive environment because I always wanted to be better than them at everything, and I wouldn't give up until I was better than them. And I would always be the first one to try out a new game or just like jump in there and try to beat the level or try to beat whatever was going on, because I just have that like competitive mindset, I guess. I always want to be the best.
Do you think that sparked, like, you know, getting to the point where you are now, like that kind of nature drove you into the point where you started competing a little higher in games and, well, now being in the pro league?
Definitely. I remember one summer we played Mario Kart the entire summer. Like, I think it was the N64 Mario Kart. Like, we played that literally, like, we would do our chores and then we would play it for the next, like, 8 or 10 hours. And then next day, do our chores, play Mario Kart. And so I just like grew up just being very competitive and very focused on wanting to be the best. But I mean, I never really thought that I would go pro, because I was like back in the day, pro gaming and all that stuff wasn't.
It wasn't as big.
Wait, was that Ducky?
Not that I hear. He might have joined. If he's joined anything, he might have hopped into the Discord channel you're sitting in.
He did.
Yep, he's hanging out down there. You're right. As I was like, you started looking around, and I was like, I think I hear an extra voice going on. Well, now you know. There's the spoilers if you're watching this. Whether it's come out already or it'll come out, Ducky is set up to do one of these today at some point. Now I'm wondering, because you were actually here a little bit early, if maybe he's going to be a little bit early, but we'll have to put that off. Either way, you know, I feel like what you said, nothing breeds competitive nature like getting blue shelled in first place in Mario Kart. Then you're fueled to win from that point forward.
Yep.
But so what was it, you know, you said that you never really thought of going pro, and it's because, you know, back then it wasn't necessarily big. What made Smite different? Like what made you kind of make that jump for Smite more than any other game?
I think I got very lucky with the friends that I made in Smite. Heater being probably the biggest person for my pro career, because he introduced me to Aninster, and Andy was just already like a very well-known player, and Heater was like, oh yeah, I want to make a team with you and Andy, and I was like, what? Like, me? Like, Heater wasn't really that, yeah, like Heater wasn't really that well-known, but he was like, yeah, this BaRRaCCuDDa guy is sick. Like, he's insanely good. And we should make a team with him. Well, I mean, that's what he told Andy. And I was like, whoa. Like, because I was just in college at the time, like, getting my degree. And then I didn't get a job, like, immediately after. And it was, like, 3 months later, after graduating, I was pro, or, like, going into the pro scene and all that. And, I mean, Smite is a game. I hated Smite. The first time I played it, I was so bad at it, and I always hate being bad at things. And it had such a big learning curve, even back in the day, where everything just felt really bad. I mean, if we went back and played Smite in, like, what, 2012? Like,
yeah, it was a different game.
It was a way different game. And I hate being bad at it, so I put it down for like a few months and picked it back up my senior year of college. And it was literally just one thing led to another, and I think I just got very lucky. And yeah, I just met the right people at the right time.
And, you know, like, you're one of the few players that, you know, well, was able to find a lot of success in Smite before, you know, salaries and things like that kind of came into the league the last few years. So what was it like, I guess, having that conversation, you know, with your family, with Derpy maybe as well, where it just kind of came through and it was just like, hey, you know what, like, I'm just gonna all in on this. Like, I'm gonna play Smite for a living and see where that goes.
Well, my stream was already picking up in the very beginning, which was really cool, because I just wanted to be a streamer with like 20 viewers. I thought that'd be so cool. Like just having like a very tiny community of people that come on and hang out, and like if I can make money from it, cool. But money's never really been a driver for me. Like it's for me, I want enough money to be happy and to take care of the people that I love. And outside of that, I'm not whatever. What is it called when you own things? Like it's not
materialistic.
Frivolous. Yeah, materialistic. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just not a materialistic kind of person. Like I don't spend a lot of money on anything. I just want enough money to like get by. And back in the day, we were making, I think it was $100 a week off of the tournaments that you had to compete in, and those tournaments took about 6 hours. It was like the open bracket tournaments of like, okay, we're gonna be up at like 11 or 10 or 11 in the morning, and then play through this whole open bracket tournament, and then we're gonna win. And the first like 3 or 4 rounds, we would just troll and like have fun, and then as the tournament went on, we would start like tryharding. So I started showing my family like, hey, I'm like actually making money from this, and because they were stressed because I was a college kid with a degree with no job. And so those first few like months were like, hey, you gotta get a job, you gotta like do something to better yourself. And I'm like, I am. Like my stream's growing, like look, I'm making like, I mean it's a small amount of money each week, but I'm making money and like things are looking good. And then we won the, God, I do not remember the name of that tournament, but it was a tournament at the end of 2013, whatever tournament that was. But we beat Denial in the finals.
Yeah.
It was an online tournament, and it was the one before like launch tournament and all like LAN tournaments started happening. Well, I think there were still LAN tournaments, but yeah. I don't remember the name of it, but it was way back in the day. And then once we won that, I was like, hey, look, we're the best team in Smite right now in North America. Like, Hi-Rez is putting a lot of resources into this. Like, there's going to be LAN tournaments next year, and like talking about launch tournament and everything. And my parents have always been very supportive of whatever I've done, but with a realistic standpoint, I guess. Which is helpful because I'd say I'm a bit more of a dreamer, I think, and less of a realist. But yeah, they were always supportive. Destiny is also very supportive the entire time. Like even when I was trying to go pro in Halo before, which was like 2010, 11, 12, well, including I guess like 2009 as well. But I just loved Halo and like always wanted to go pro in that, but I didn't have like the resources, and I wasn't like the best Halo player, I'll be honest. But yeah, I think I answered that question around.
I think I can speak for everybody in the Smite community. We're really happy we got you in Halo, didn't we? I'm happy that you've been around. I mean, I guess it made it easier. Like you said, you started making money off your stream, and then there was like more tournaments coming up, so you could kind of showcase, hey guys, like this is like stuff is happening. And then lo and behold, I guess after that 2013 tournament, a little over a year later, you and your team are winning the biggest prize pool that we've had in Smite individually. That had to do a kind of a lot to really empower your decisions at that point, right?
Yeah, because I had a Nissan Maxima, and at the time it was breaking down every like 2 or 3 months, and my dad was putting in a lot of hours to fixing it, and I was the tool guy that would hand him the tools, whatever he needed to fix my car at the time. So going into Worlds, I was like, whatever amount of money I win from Worlds would go towards getting me a car. And I thought at the time there was a good chance we'd win, and I'm being realistic, I was like, we can get top 4 at least. And then we beat Cog Red, and we'd already knew that we could beat Titan, and I was like, wait, we can actually do this. And then whenever I got that check, it was a very, I don't know, unreal feeling of like seeing that much money. Like it's unbelievable to ever get like a lump sum of that amount of money. And so I kind of splurged and bought like a brand new Subaru Outback because I wanted a car that would last me a very, very, very long time as like an investment. And I was like, I don't think like I don't want to go into oh yeah, I'll win worlds every year like in that mindset. So I would just buy a car that will last me a very, very, very long time. And then I like put a down payment on like a solid house a few years later and like invested the rest of it. And I was just like I don't know, I'm not like a splurge kind of guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
And you had already said you're not really materialistic, so it was just kind of nice to have that. The biggest question, I think, on everyone's mind watching this now, do you still have the same Subaru Outback? Or have you had to now upgrade to a different car? Has it lasted you this long since that Worlds?
Oh, yeah. My Subi is, I think, 5 going on 6 years old right now. And I literally haven't had a single problem with it. Like, this is a Subaru ad now, by the way, but I love it.
There's spots on the jersey. You could probably fit a Subaru in there. Just talk to the Renegades a little bit.
Right here, right across my forehead. But it was, I don't know, it's just a solid car, and I'm very happy with the decisions I made with the money. And because my dad is an investor, and I just wanted to be, I don't want to disappoint him and waste money on things that I shouldn't be wasting money on, or buy a house that like I shouldn't be buying. And I was looking at a very like long term, and yeah.
Well, it seems to have been beneficial. But you know, things have gone well for you. I think exceedingly in the Pro League. Like, you're one of the most historied players. Everyone, like, you're a fan favorite almost every single year, no matter where you place on the standings. Like, everyone would love to come watch BaRRaCCuDDa. And so I want to know, like, because you've been playing so long, how do you relax when you're not playing Smite? I mean, like, when you decide that you need to just put the game down, you need to step away, what do you go to do and just chill?
In my first few years, I would play other games, kind of anything on Steam, and I would play with my real-life friends, and now I like to get out of the house and do things that aren't on my computer, and try to kind of separate pro play, well, especially this year because of Corona, so this whole space feels like my workspace, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's very serious, very goal-oriented, and I just put a different mindset on when I sit down here. And so when I'm not here, and when we're not scrimming or competing or watching VODs or like doing any of the stuff you need to be doing as a pro player, just doing anything out of the house or like working out or, just anything that's not on my computer, I would say.
Anything to escape the digital world that we have inevitably become trapped in now. Things have gone on. But, you know, I think it's kind of fun because, like, a lot of the questions I've had, you know, are the players that are in the team house, right, where it's like, what are you and the team doing? Right now, there's not a whole lot to do. I'd like to hear, though, that you are getting outside. And I do want to ask, like, just a sprinkle of Smite questions. Nothing that's oriented towards Pro League play, but just kind of things like, who's your favorite god? Do you have a favorite god? You play a lot of Jingwei, you play a lot of Hunters over the years. Like, who maybe is at the top of your list of gods you like to play?
Would favorite be most fun, or, like, I'm just loading into a game and I just... like I gravitate towards that pick. Because favorite for me is a hard one.
If they're different, give us those, both.
Most fun would be Geb.
Wow, I will be honest, on the list I expected, Geb was not really high up on there. What is it that Geb does? It's just so fun for you.
Okay, so I'll do a throwback. So back in Diablo and every other game, I've been a tank player. And I have loved frontlining and tanking shots and being the guy that people focus. Don't know why, but it's been a lot of fun. So in my spare time, I like to load into an arena and play Geb and roll around and save people.
So before Smite, you're playing tanks. You're doing a lot of tanks. How did you end up as a carry? How did you end up doing that?
Well, Andy was a jungler, and so I was playing Hunter or like carry, whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
So I was playing whatever role that was, and it was like, yeah, jungle was about to come out because jungle wasn't a thing back then.
Yep.
Jungle was about to come out, and I want to be the jungler. I was like, okay, so I'll be Hunter. And I've always played shooters, and yeah, I don't know. It's been weird.
You just kind of were like, you know what? I guess I'm not a tank. Maybe that explains,
Yep.
like, in those, like, Season 0, I guess even Season 1 era, like, you and Zapman were way more aggressive. Maybe that's where it was. You still wanted to take some of those hits before they could go forward with it.
Even nowadays in the team fights, like, I'll be kind of in bad positions, but it comes down to I've switched my playstyle from like being a tank to like wanting to bait abilities and bait people to go on me, and to let my other backliner free cast and kind of like get more room to play the game for them. And I've always kind of done that. I didn't really realize it until like a few years ago that it's good, sometimes bad, obviously, because if you get insta-gibbed or you don't get as much damage off, then it's like really bad. So
Yeah.
playing Jing, I can kind of do both. If people go on me, I'm very safe, but they have to go on me because I have such a high damage output. So that's why I always kind of gravitated towards that pick, because it's very aggressive but very defensive and safe at the same time. And I think a lot of people view Jing as I don't know why I just went on a Jing rant, by the way, but here we are. A lot of people view Jing as like a very beta pick, but it's only as beta as you make it. So if you're knocking up yourself and dashing in, it's not beta, it's alpha. So yeah. So back to favorite god. It's not Jing Wei. I would say it's Apollo. The main reason I picked Jing a lot was I think I've always been a player who's just kind of picked like best in slot, because I feel like Hunter role has always kind of been that way, where you just kind of pick the best gods. And like right now it's Rama and Cupid, or like you can kind of pick other things, but everyone's kind of playing Rama and Cupid, so it's kind of lame. But I've been trying to expand my god pool a lot in scrims and like see what's actually good, or if there's counters to those. And yeah, but it's actually Apollo.
Well,
yeah.
I'm just hoping maybe one day Apollo. I have a list of the gods that haven't been played all year, and unfortunately Apollo is on that list. For a while Artemis was on that list as well, but we got at least one of those games in there. Didn't go well for her, but you know, maybe Apollo will be something different, and maybe that gets sprinkled in. And well, we only have a few weeks left, so hopefully we'll be able to see him. But you know, you've played a lot, and every time I ask a world champion this question, I tend to assume I know the answer beforehand. But do you have a moment for Smite in your history that just kind of stands out, whether it's a game or like a moment after the game where like it was just surreal, like it was completely different than any other experience you've had?
I would say Season 3 Worlds, just because my emotions were riding on such a big high, and I was putting in, like, all the effort I could possibly put in, and I can't even remember what Emilito said to me. I have to go back and watch another interview, but he came over and said something like, you played, like, insanely well, or, like, you farmed me or something like that. And it was after they beat us 3-2. I think that was a really surreal moment. And then I would say another one would be Season 1 Worlds. I mean, obviously just winning that is an unbelievable feeling. And then there was another LAN, I think it was, I want to say Season 3. I was Rama, and I think Walrus was Osiris solo, and the game basically felt like me versus him. Like, both of us were just playing insanely well. I think I missed one Rama snipe the entire game, and it was... I want to go back and watch the game. I don't remember which game it was, but it was like one of those like round robin lands. I think it was like 4 teams in a group. And they were supposed to be like the worst team, and we were like, I want to say LG at the time with like me, Mass, Zeno, Jeff, and Scary. But I just remember Jeff's whole playstyle being do whatever he can to keep me alive. Like that was his whole playstyle the entirety of Season 3. So I think the amount of like room and the amount of peel I got has never been that high. Like he was literally doing everything he could possibly do to keep me alive. So I think whenever people bring up like, oh yeah, why don't you just play like Season 3? I mean, it's just like different team, different meta, like people play different ways. So like, yeah, I'm just going on rants here. But teams, I'm just going to do this real quick. teams play for different players. And some players make the teams play around them, and other players want the teams to kind of feel themselves out. And for my old teams with Jeff, he would always do whatever he could to keep me alive. But on this current team, I think we all kind of make room for each other to make plays. I think sometimes like Lass will look really good, sometimes I'll look really good, sometimes Jake will just hyper carry a game, and then same for Harry and Vin, obviously. And yeah, teams are different. You know, I'll finish with that. Teams are different.
I mean, that's been the longest theme. Normally I have a question that's like favorite player you've ever teamed with, but you teamed with Jeff for so long that everyone kind of has to assume he is up there on your list. But that's one of the biggest themes of this year was going from Jeff to Jake. Like it's something that was a big jump for you. And so has that been something? And this is closer to season 7 talk than I've got with any other player. I just want to know, has that been like a weird thing to get used to? Like you played with the same lane partner for years. Has getting kind of like accustomed to Jake been a different experience?
I think it's been very easy for me. Jake is a very, very easy player to get along with. And you can tell him things and he will just instantly soak them up. And I think he has a lot of respect for me and I have a lot of respect for him. So in like the 2v2s, like sometimes he'll just go in and die, and I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. Like, don't worry about it. Like, we'll get him next time, basically. And we literally did that against Obey. Like, he dashed in on Sobek, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like, don't worry about it. And then we came back and like killed him 2 times in lane. And Jake is just, his mechanics are through the roof. Like, the amount of buttons that he hits, I think he still has a few rookie tendencies, and then he still overextends sometimes in team fights, but I think that's just because he lacks late game team fight experience. And late game team fight in SPL is completely different than any other team fight in like ranked or scrims or anything, because players abuse you at every single small misstep you make. And for a frontliner, that is very, very, very difficult to find a good balance. And I think we threw game 2 against Ghost on that left Phoenix, and I feel like we should have never thrown that. Like, and it was just a very obvious mistake. We went back and watched it. Like, we should have never made that mistake. But Jeff is a very selfless player. I would say less of a mechanical beast, but will always put himself in the position to die for others. And Jake is more, I think he is coming into more of the supportive mindset, but in the beginning he was more of a selfish support, more of a playmaking support. And now he's kind of mixed his playstyle with playmaking and being selfless for your team as well. And I think he's really coming around to being one of the best supports in the league, in my opinion.
Well, hey, it's been fun to watch that one as it's grown. That's actually been one of my favorite things to pay attention to all year. And so I have one final question for you, which is, we're coming towards the end of the year. Things are getting close. And I think, again, the obvious answer for this is win the World Championship. But what are your goals for the remainder of the Smite season? Like, where do you see yourself going? What is it that you kind of have your eyes set on?
Right now, I would just say we're taking it one set at a time. I feel like we're still in a learning process for our team as well as our individual players in the current meta. And so I'm not like looking towards Worlds, I'm not looking towards like the end of the split. I'm literally just taking it game by game, and like the entire week for me is just being like prepping for the SPL team that we're playing that weekend. So I would say very, very short-sighted right now. Not looking for Worlds, not looking for anything like that, just game by game.
Yeah, just keep your eyes on the next target, right, and keep going. Either way, man, thanks so much for just sitting by and talking to me for this last, 30-ish minutes or so, however long it's been. It's been a pleasure overall, and right now, people, again, fan favorite that you've been playing, you always can catch you in the Renegades games for the SPL, but, if you want people to follow you, whether it's on Twitch, Twitter, what have you, where can people find you so that they know when to catch the streams or whatever?
YouTube and Twitch, BaRRaCCuDDa, it's misspelled. You can look at the correct spelling right underneath where I am. And then Twitter, BaRRaCCuDDa_, same misspelling. And yeah, I haven't been streaming too much lately. Had a lot going on IRL, unfortunately, but I should be back in the next few weeks if you guys want to check me out.
Absolutely. Make sure you do check him out. Of course, you can always subscribe here for more content, not just including BaRRaCCuDDa, but also some other pro players as well. And, make sure you hit us up on Twitter @SMITEPro for what you'd like to see in the next video. But either way, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.